Hey, this is Mike Koenigs, and welcome to a special episode of You Everywhere Now, Publish and Profit. And this is top 10 mistakes authors make. And if you're in a spot right now where maybe you just finished doing a pre-release program at our Publish and Profit event, now you're published, you want to know what's going to happen next and what you need to do or what you want to not do. But the person I brought in to help me with this content today is John North. He's here all the way from Australia, and he is one of our certified coaches. He has a lot of experience. He's helped over 100 people publish books and become best-selling authors. He's been involved in every aspect of publishing, so he's super knowledgeable. He's attended our live events. He's helped on the ground, but more importantly, he knows what works and what isn't work. So this is a result of us just brainstorming and talking about what are the top things that you run into all the time. So I want to thank you, first of all, John, for being here today.
Thanks, Mike. Really excited to be here.
All right. So it's good. And just for everyone, how long have you been involved in the community, working with books and publishing? And
pretty much from day one. Like I think it was maybe 3 years ago you started, something like that. Yeah. So pretty much from day one. I think we were actually the first ones that actually, when you did present it. One of the traffic guys or things or something.
Yeah. So it's actually longer than that now. Yeah. I bet you, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably going on close to 5 years. Wow. Is my guess. Yeah. So 100 books that you've got underneath your belt, and you've pretty much seen it all. You know, in some ways, you kind of clean up, and you got people running at you in an emergency mode because they did the pre-release and they have like a couple weeks left before their book has to be.
Or a couple of days.
Yeah. So this really was your brainchild. I want to give you full credit where credit's due. So why don't we just go through some of the big challenges you see. So the first one that we have up here is not having a finished book. So let's just begin with that. What exactly does that mean from your point of view?
Well, a lot of people do is they write the book and then they think they finished it and then they move on to all the other steps. And then they get the printed version of the layout version and they start making changes and rewriting it. One of my clients actually wrote 26 changes. He actually started rewriting the book on the fly. Right. And can't understand why he can't get it done in time.
Yep.
And so it needs to be finished. I mean, most publishers, if you give the final manuscript to the publisher, there is no changes. Mm-hmm. And you really have to think that way.
Yes.
Not rewriting it, just second-guessing yourself down the track.
Right. And in my experience, one of the things that I've frequently seen, and I encourage too, I'll use this one as an example, my Money Phone book, which this book is right now up to, I think, version 4.1. Mm-hmm. So getting it done can just mean getting it up and running and done enough, because you can always update it later. But the key thing is being done, but also being good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, that's the thing. Maybe you've got to cut the cord and say, okay, that's good. I'll stop there. I'll finish it. I'll come back.
Yep.
But don't think you're going to change halfway through. That's where
right.
It goes wrong.
Because that's where what ends up happening is you have to go back and forth and reformat and re-upload and re-edit every single time. And someone's blaming you as a service provider 2 months later because their book's not done because they couldn't make up their mind.
That's right, and it slows the whole process down. So it's a big job to keep changing those things.
Good. All right. So let's go to number 2, which is about formatting. Let's talk about that. So what specifically are the big formatting issues that you run into or that they have to think about?
So lack of understanding about what it really is. So there's formatting for digital and there's formatting for print.
Right, and that's digital meaning Kindle specifically, or for
Kindle,
the other
iTunes, EPUBs and what sort of those technical terms they chuck at you. So they're all very different formats, and Amazon's format is totally no one else's, and it's peculiar. So there's quite a lot of bugs in the way it works.
Yeah.
So people kind of think that their formatted book that looks like Word is going to look like that in Kindle, or they put weird images in that go tiny. There's all sorts of things to think about, as opposed to a printed book where you can control it. You can't control Kindle and the way it resizes.
Yep.
So expectations there are pretty confusing.
Great. And I know one of the things that you've got is a tool that you've developed that helps people publish their books. Of course, they can either do it in Word. Like for me, I've been doing my past few books 100% in Word now, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where... like when you're working with someone as a certified coach right now, what do you prefer your clients give you their manuscripts in? Let's assume they have finished their book, they hand it to you and say, John, I want you to format this and upload it for me.
Well, Word's fine, but don't get too carried away with it. Like, don't try and make it look the way you want it to look, because then you've wasted a lot of time. And the thing is that all the images inside the book need to be separate as well.
Yep.
Because Word stuffs them up, it flattens them and wrecks them. So we need a book that's basic format and the original images in high quality and low quality.
Yeah, so a folder full of pictures and images.
Yeah,
okay.
and often they don't have them. or they've knocked them off from somewhere and they shouldn't be using them as well. That's another big issue.
That is. That's so let's just give you that warning right now, which is if you are using images in your book, make sure they're either you paid for them or they are copyright or royalty free, or what's known as public domain. Or frankly, what I recommend doing is using going to 99 Designs, for example, run a contest or even Fiverr and say, here's the kind of thing I want, make something like this. And that way you own it outright and you have total control.
And there's a tool, I think, in Google where you can put the image in Google and it will tell you whether it's actually been copied somewhere else. So that's always a good last little check in case that Fiverr guy just knocked off an image.
Oh, that's a good point.
I've had that happen before where they actually just were very lazy, just grabbed an image and knocked it off. Had one client who was going to be sued over this image of half a house. It was just the top of the house. They want to sue him for $5,000 because he used a bad image.
I once got basically a trolling attorney who filed and said, hey, I'm going to come after you for $25,000. It's basically an evil thief.
Yes.
So there are people like that out there who just they're looking to skim and get free money from entrepreneurs who don't know any better.
That's right. So don't cut corners. They scare the hell out of them too. So don't cut corners on images.
Great. All right. So next up then is forgetting your best-selling author badge. And I'll show you where I've actually not taken my own advice. So let's take a look here. I'm going to hold this up for the camera right here, if we can. And you'll see that I have my best-selling author badge, which is an image. We actually give you this in the community. But once you push your book to Amazon bestseller status, you want to make sure that's up there. And we're going to talk a little bit about it, but I want to show you a mistake I made. I didn't realize this until today. So this is one of my other books, Money Phone. I flat out forgot to put the badge up here. And, why not display that? Because any kind of social proof that's on your book cover can make a difference and increase the number of books that get purchased. So John, let's talk a little bit about that. When is the time to think about your best-selling author badge?
Usually when you design the cover in the first place. So when we ever do clients, we always figure out how the badge is going to be. We give them a bestseller version and then we take the bestseller logo off when we do the run.
Okay.
And put it back up on Amazon and everything after.
So the whole idea is when you first upload the book the very first time, it's without the badge.
Correct.
And then we do the bestseller run, like what we do. And as soon as it's at bestseller status, then we put the badge on there and then re-upload the cover.
That's right. Because that way people are looking and going, oh, it's a best-selling book, I'll buy it. So they're following the people that originally bought the book.
Great. Awesome. All right. Well, let's take a look at the next one, which is waiting until the last minute. You've never had this happen before.
No, not at all.
So
triage it is. And what I'm saying is they say to me, I've got 2 days to go. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, and let's set this up. So you get a call from someone who's done their pre-launch, waited 88 days, and there's 2 days left. They start panicking and they're like, I got to get my book done. Like, what's the worst case scenario that you've seen? Has it been someone who literally has done zero work on their book? And
not so much zero work on their book, but they haven't finished the book. So they thought they had, but they haven't. And then what they end up sending out is the original version. So they actually don't upload it properly. So they'll go through the steps, forget the publish button, and then 3 weeks later come back and realise they haven't done it.
Okay.
Or they've basically just run out of time because Amazon takes time to cycle through.
Yeah.
And it could be 24, 48, 72 hours even before they're all updated. Like the cover, when I did mine at the event, I just put anything I could up there because I had 15 minutes to do it. And when I came back, it took nearly 2 days before that cover changed.
Oh, wow.
So you can't be leaving it, almost you give a week out and make sure it's all done.
Yeah. So to be smart, like I know I've done things within like 2 days before. But I remember there was someone in the community once who was complaining and saying it was my fault because we didn't warn them up until the last moment. And it's like, that's why we tell you to get your book done in a month, okay? Because you can get it done in a month. And blaming someone else for not following up and following through is lame, really lame, okay? All right. And then they come to you and try to bail them out, and then you've basically got to charge them 3 or 4 times as much if you're going to stay up for a day and a half straight and bail someone out. It's like, and the quality, no one's going to be happy.
That's right.
And in fact, most smart coaches and consultants flat out wouldn't take that kind of a client on because it's history is an indicator of past behavior. And if they wait until the last minute, they're probably going to be miserable or, they're going to be blamey, whiny, malcontents, and not the kind of people you want to work with.
Kind of call it the client test.
Yeah.
So if they fail the client test, then we don't go ahead.
Yep.
That's the bottom line. But I think too, what happens is they think that Amazon will send out that book to everyone after if they screw it up.
Yeah.
But they won't.
That's right.
If they do, it'll be in for a long ride because you've got to tell them all the changes you've made, and they'll just stuff you around. They won't do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to explain that in a little more detail, which is when, and I'll just talk to this camera right here, Josh. If, for example, you don't get your copy uploaded in time, which means like you upload something that isn't great and you've waited till the last minute to upload your content, that's the book that gets sent out to all of your buyers. Then, okay? Now, Amazon does have a provision, and if you have a completely updated, brand new version of your book, and you make a strong case as to why Amazon will send that out, they might do it, okay? Meaning, you got to give them a really, really good reason, and it's not because I changed my mind. It can't be lame. But Amazon doesn't want to pay to push out your book to hundreds or thousands of people who bought it. Okay, so what happens is every time someone buys the new version of the book, they'll get the brand new version, or if they press refresh on their Kindle or whatever their device is, they'll get the latest update. But the whole point is, it gets back again to plan ahead, think ahead, put that deadline in your calendar right now, especially if you've gone through Publish and Profit Live and your book is, let's say, scheduled to be released on whatever the date is. Make sure you take off a week, okay, and you start working backwards. And in another video, we're going to go through like what you should be doing 30 days from now, 60 days from now, and 90 days out to plan for that. But the key thing here is 90 days is plenty of time to finish up your book. We have lots of people who get them done in just a couple of weeks. All right, next up.
By the way, the guy that missed his thing had a forward in there, like a very famous forward, and they still wouldn't change it.
Oh, wow.
So that to me, that's a quality thing, all right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Nope, I get it. All right. So this is another one. Now, we've got a couple of tools we're going to talk about. So number 5 is not creating content constantly. And then we've got 3 links down here. One is Trint.com, another one is Rev.com, and one is Siri. So I think I'll frame this just a little bit more, which is I make a point of writing my books while I'm walking, while I'm driving. I often will write a chapter on my way to work and from work. So instead of listening to the radio, I never listen to the radio or any kind of entertainment. I'm always making time in my car as work time. And so all I do is I brainstorm a couple of bullets, and then I dictate that content while I'm driving. And I do that when I'm going out for walks or, all the time. But tell me a little bit about your point of view, and then what is Trint.com for folks who've never heard of it before?
Well, what we were trying to do is Revs.com charges about $60 an hour to do...
$1 a minute.
$1 a minute.
And if you don't know what Rev.com is, it's an app you run on your phone, download it. You can press a button, it records audio, then you press another button, it gets sent out to real people who transcribe it for you. And it's formatted in like Microsoft Word documents. So you can then just send that to an editor and they can tweak it for you. But keep on going.
So Trint's very similar. So a lot of searching, probably took me 2 days to find it because it was in beta. I don't know what it still is. But it's not a live person doing it, it's a machine. But it also produces the same format as Revs. So you can actually put speakers in and all that sort of stuff.
So it will actually include punctuation and fix it, get rid of the ums and the ahs. And
you can do that. I mean, it becomes a Word doc you can just edit. But when you're listening to it, you can actually listen to the audio bit that it's doing it. So a transcriptionist could come and clean up later. We did a bit of a test. Of course, it's $15 an hour. You could afford to pay a VA $15 an hour and you're still ahead.
Yeah.
Right? So we tested that, and it wasn't quite a nice way to do it. But it's a great way. Your content's like your content. You know what you said. Yeah. Right. If you're trying to do it for like perfect, then it may not be exact. It depends on the speaker. Sometimes it's 90%, 95% accurate. Yeah. Sometimes it's only 60%. Depends on the speaker and how fast you talk. But it's very smart in terms of it's quite an interesting technology. Yeah. So $15 an hour will get you a machine editor or machine transcriptionist. Rev.com is real people. Yep. And then how fast does Trint turn things around? Well, an average document's probably about 10 seconds. Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's fast. It's as soon as you pay the money, they start transcribing, and about 10 to 15 seconds later, it's done a reasonable sized document. That's impressive. So Revs is fast. Like they're usually within maybe 1 or 2 hours, you've got it back. Typically, as long as you're sending short docs. Yeah. So I send things to Rev in 15-minute blocks. We've found that if you do it 15 minutes or less,
which is about a chapter.
Yep.
I get those back in 60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah, they're very quick. Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one, which is not good, but it's better than nothing, is using Siri. So, but the only problem with Siri is you have to get used to speaking using punctuation. So when I'm speaking, and sometimes I do this, like I write a lot of emails and that kind of thing, I'll be like, well, the first thing you need to know is how to put this thing into that thing, period, new paragraph. The next thing you need to know is colon, new line, number 1, boom, boom, boom. New line, number 2, boom, boom, boom. New line, number 3. So it's you have to get used to it, and that can take away from the creative process of just speaking
formatting
freely.
all the time. Yeah.
Yep. So, but those are some tools that are effective. Again, Trint being the least costly, most best accuracy for the money.
They give you 15 minutes for free to try it.
Oh, it's worth trying out.
Yeah, it's worth a go.
Yep. I still use Rev.com because I don't want to monkey around with anything. And generally speaking, most of my stuff's pretty clean anyway. But I want a human to make sure that it's... But I'm going to start playing around with Trint.com.
What you should do is take one of your audios that you've done with Revs, upload it to Trint and see what happens. So if it's 15 minutes, block won't cost you anything.
Yeah,
and then give it a try and see how good it is. Yeah.
I'm inspired. I'll do that today.
Cool.
Good.
Wish I was on commission.
Quit action taking. Yes. All right. Next up, Kindle first, then do print. What's that mean?
Well, a lot of people try and do is they try and create the final print version when they're trying to write the book. And that's a mistake because what you're trying to do, again, you're trying to think periods and paragraphs and stuff. The reality is that when you put it in Kindle, it's a fairly basic format. And so people think they've got to get it all done on time. So if you don't have a lot of time to do print layout, you could leave it after the 90-day period. Just get digital out of the way. Just get Kindle done.
Yep.
And don't worry about trying to lay it all out.
That's right.
Two jobs, really. They're two separate jobs. Shouldn't be treated the same.
Yeah, and that's, I agree with that completely. Again, I'll make an argument for if you're willing to put up and invest the time learning how to do it. Because I'm a control freak, I'm super OCD, and I like being able to edit, tweak, and upload with full control, and I don't want anyone in between, right? But I'm willing to put in that extra time, right?
Yeah.
So, every single one of these, I've figured out how to format my books using Microsoft Word, and I, in fact, give everyone in the membership site, like MoneyPhone, the formatted copy they can download and flow in their copy. But it's not fun. It's a pain in the butt.
It's not fun layout.
And what I've learned is I can save and actually upload my Word doc, and it does a decent job of Kindle formatting. It's not perfect, and the problem is, and they do have a previewer, so you can see at least what it looks like ahead of time. But the benefit is I upload it, and generally about 8 hours later, it's live, okay? And then for the print version, I'll take the Word file, I just save it as export as a PDF file and upload that, and it looks good. But I've taken the time to figure out how to embed the photos and have high quality.
Little things can go wrong.
Exactly. And I think getting back to a point, which is Kindle first, meaning get it done, and it just needs to be good enough so you can hit it. Because in my opinion, no one's going to say, oh, well, a picture was out of place or a little bit of formatting was blah, blah, blah. I mean, if they're whiny like that and they give you a bad review, screw them. They're going to be a crap customer anyway.
Probably going to do it anyway. They're looking for something.
Yeah, exactly. They're just whiny. So I don't care about appealing to the lowest common denominator, hater, whiner, malcontents, and anyone who's reading reviews. If someone's hung up and gives you like a 2-star or 1-star review because something wasn't just so... to them is what I say.
They're just looking to be offended.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the point is get it done. Do it in staggered cycles. Kindle first, just so at least you can hit your 90-day pre-release window, or you can, it generally takes longer if you're hiring someone to do the print version anyway.
Absolutely.
But unless you're either like us, where we're kind of gearheads, we like knowing how things work and doing it. You're not going to make any money sitting around formatting your crap.
Or save any money for that matter.
That's right. That's right. All right. So next up then is ISBN for outside printing. They're free with Amazon for Amazon. So let's just show what these look like. If you're not familiar with what an ISBN is, I'll hold it up here. That's the little barcode you see at the bottom of the screen. Now, the way Amazon works is when you upload your book, it automatically assigns an ISBN to it, and it'll ask you if you want to do that. And then for paperback, it does the same thing. And when you upload your cover, you just leave a space, and they automatically overlay the ISBN for you before they print it. Now, why is that important? It's because if your book ends up getting sold in retail, you need an ISBN. It's used for checkout. It's like a UPC code. Now, here's the little rub. If you are selling your book, and let's say it gets printed by another company like Ingram, or you're going to do your own hardback or whatever it is, you'd have to get your own ISBN and upload it and enter it. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So fill in the blanks for anything I left out aside from the visuals.
And I think I look upon it as a tax. I call it a tax because it's really just a tax for a barcode. And people get all confused about it. And so the reality is you can go and buy a block of codes and pay quite a bit of money for them. Or you can go, like we've got a thing we use, ISBN services it's called, and they charge like $20. And the difference conceptually is apparently they buy a block of codes and they put their name on it.
Yep.
So when someone looks up the ISBN, their name appears. Not that I'll be able to find that, by the way. I haven't been able to find it anyway. So to me, buying expensive ISBNs and buying 10 packs and using 2 of them is nuts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, and it's a couple $100. Yeah. In my opinion, honestly, I don't care about ISBNs personally.
No, neither do I.
I'm just going to keep everything on Amazon. And if a publisher wants my book, they're going to put their own ISBN on it anyway.
Well, that's right. So the thing is, when we publish Ingram, that expands the market for us. Like it goes on all the other platforms.
Yep.
But each time you put a version of the book up on Amazon, it has to have its own ISBN, like a hardcover, softcover. And interesting enough, softcover or hardcover is about 30% more sales on hardcover on Amazon. We found this out by accident.
Hardcover?
Yeah.
Is 30% higher than paperback?
Well, basically 30% of the sales you're getting there on that site for paperback, you could probably get another 30% of those sales could be hardback. People buy them all the time.
No kidding.
And so we found this by accident because we used to print a hardcover for the clients as a present, and we do it in Ingram, we put it up there, and then basically Amazon automatically inserts it in with the rest. So you have paperback, Kindle, hardcover.
Wow.
And then you get hardcover sales all the time. And so it's an extra revenue. You can charge more for it, a lot more for it.
Yeah.
And so, but you need an ISBN for that, right?
Yep.
And that's another, it could be a lot of money. So we just buy a $20 ISBN services one and put it on, and they're happy with that because they imprint it anyway.
Yeah, of course.
So hardcover's a good revenue source.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't been using that, and I want to be.
Or a bonus, like you can put extra things. So we had a client's got quite a skinny book, and so it's not going to look great. It's going to look okay in hardcover. It's going to look quite small. She's going to put another 20 pages of worksheets inside the hardcover version. So the hardcover's more valuable.
Yes.
So there's all sorts of ways you can make the hardcover nicer.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. Excellent. Well, let's look at number 8, which is requesting more categories. So again, just to set this up and frame it for you, anytime you are submitting your book on Amazon, you can request multiple categories. And of course, if you use our tools to choose really, really good categories, which means categories where the ranking of number 1 is 4,000 or greater, it means you can sell very few books per day to maintain a bestseller or number 1 bestseller position. So we've got people inside the community. I know someone I spoke with had 42 categories. What's the most you've ever...
Sounds about right. I've seen 30.
Okay.
I've seen someone had 30 categories. I mean, I guess it depends on how long you're going to keep sending emails to Amazon and how long they're going to go before they give up on you. But the reality is if you can keep ranking, and some of those categories will change over time. So the one that was 4,000 BSR today could be 200 tomorrow.
Yes.
And so having say, only 4 categories means that you're going to take a risk. And you want them to be found all the time. So adding more relevant categories, even if you're not number 1, doesn't matter because you could be number 3, number 4, you could be in that top 10 list.
Yep.
So adding more categories is a good plan.
Yeah, and just for you, the more categories you're in means the more exposure. It means anytime someone's browsing, they're going to see your book in the top 5, top 10, or number 1. And if someone sees your book and you're at a number 1, it'll say number 1 bestseller. It'll actually show that badge next to your book, which again is more social proof. And people don't want to be first. They don't want to be fools. They don't want to be made fun of. They don't want to be humiliated. So social proof is like, other people must be attracted to this. I'll buy it too.
Yeah, low risk. Low risk. So,
Good. So that's a really good tip. Now, next up is when your book launches, it is treated by Amazon as another launch and past purchases count again. So why don't you explain what happens? Because you just told me this. I actually did not know it until today.
Yeah, so basically what Amazon does is rerun it again. So you almost get a do-over. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, say 20 people bought your book, that's the time at 9 o'clock that day is when they do it again.
So let's back up though, because when we do, let's say, the pre-release sales at a Publish and Profit event, our goal is to push everyone to bestseller status. In our last event, which you were at, we had 90 people out of 90 become #1 bestsellers, and almost all of them in 2 or 3 categories.
Yeah,
okay?
It was a big day.
It was incredible. So, and so when their book is officially launched, meaning it's released, okay, so that means we pushed it to #1 right away. But as soon as 90 days go by and that book is actually released, all of those orders or sales count as bestseller again.
Yep.
And that means their book is going to get pushed up more than likely to #1 bestseller status again.
Exactly. And the thing is, Amazon needs to shift it from pre-sale to ordinary sales. The only way they can do that is roll them out like that.
Okay.
So they suddenly appears on a different dashboard.
So is there, how will you be able to tell when that happens? And like what time of the day does Amazon, is it at midnight? Do we know, just to get precise here? And again, this is super nerdy talk here, but I know someone is there going, so what specifically is they're typing that in?
Kind of for us, it's a sixth sense when we're doing it because we can notice it. You can see the trends happening. But the reality is around about 9 o'clock in the morning USA time is usually when things start happening. But Amazon's cycling through that every hour roughly. We find about an hour every hour they cycle through. So we had someone who had really competitive categories, say at 9 o'clock, and I said to the guy, just a bit of patience, come back in an hour. You come back in an hour and they'd cycled up the next 3.
Wow.
So basically, you just got to cycle through.
Okay.
But the thing is that once that category is #1, then you're going to want to take a screenshot again because that means the book isn't saying pre-release on it. It's actually a released bestseller book.
Got it.
So take screenshots and watch it. But as soon as you see it starting to rank and you can kind of remember roughly.
You just want to set
happens.
your calendar for the day your book's released and keep an eye on the sales.
Yeah.
So does it actually show the sales in the reporting section?
It will. So in KDP, it'll show you the sales that's happening. So if you had, say you had a couple of days worth of sales, you'll see it going up.
Wow.
But the sales aren't always real time. Like sometimes it takes a while to cycle through. So you just sit in there, refreshed.
Great. That's a good tip. All right, and number 10 is if you increase your price too quickly, book sales will drop. Wait until your bestseller run is done. So again, we're going to make the assumption here that maybe someone has pre-released their book, and then their book officially launches. And one of the rules we have in the community is you always have to price your book at 99 cents if you want community support to buy it. And you can change your price to whatever you want after you're a bestseller. Okay, your goal is to be a bestseller. That's the focus. I've had people before say, well, I'm not going to change the price because that devalues my content. Look, that's basically it's stupid. I don't know how to say it.
You need to get over that very
Yeah, exactly. The deal is become a bestseller now. That's all you care about. Then you can do whatever you want, and Amazon lets you price a book at $200 if you want.
We have actually done pre-releases and put the book at $100. Someone always seems to buy one.
Really?
Yeah, I've got last 3 pre-launches because we didn't want them to buy the book. We're populating it. Put $100 on it. And we sell books for $100. It's quite incredible. But you wouldn't sell many, right?
No.
It's been a mistake.
It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Good commission, but
all right. So then, getting back to this trend, though, you're saying don't increase your price too quickly. So let's say your book is officially available, and you've had people maybe go from 99 cents to like $8.99 or $9.99 for Kindle or something. And so you're seeing a pattern of what behavior then?
So what we did was when we did LinkedIn Mastery Book, which was a pretty big launch, right? And he had a lot of trickle-on sales. So we left the 99 cents there for a couple of weeks. And then basically that kept the thing going because as soon as Amazon sees the sales coming through, they're sending out emails and saying, this book, you looked at some of those other books, you should buy this book. So they're promoting it. And then when we just started increasing the price by $1, so we go $1.99, see how the sales drop off, $2.99, $3.99, just kept on climbing. We got up to about $7 or $8 and the sales started to drop off, so we just went back down again.
Okay.
So we think the sweet spot's around $3.99, $4.99, but you got to keep an eye on it. But the reality is then you're actually engineering Amazon thinking, hey, you're selling books, we better promote you because some more people will buy them. But you just jack it to $9 or $10. Most of those KDP panels I've seen are like flat lines, they're dead. Nobody's buying them, so they've lost all opportunity. What their book's supposed to be doing, generating leads. You never get wealthy on royalties.
No, it's all about the back end.
I don't think Tony Robbins will get wealthy on royalties.
No, he gives away all his money on royalties anyway.
So
it's for him. It's basically, I'm sure each royalty check amounts to maybe, I don't know, a plane trip for him. And I don't know about a private jet either. But, no, I mean it might be a private jet, but even it's like that doesn't really matter to him. He can get a private jet anytime.
I think he prices his Kindle for about the same as the paperback.
Probably.
Which basically means that it's, to most people, they might buy it because of him. The reality is not going to buy it because of you unless you're really famous.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. You don't have I always say you don't have the right to act like you're famous until you're famous, which is you want to get your content out as many ways as possible. I want to give away my books. I don't care as long as the message is getting out there and I generate leads.
Yeah, so the 99 cents is an investment, not a cost.
Right on. Okay. So we actually did a bonus one right here. So we went through the first 10, but number 11 is don't take advice from amateurs. So I'm going to give my version of this and then you give your version of it. So if I were giving advice right now, and we see this all the time, okay? It'll be someone, for example, who is, they'll post in our community that I changed something because someone told me to, basically. And it could be a sister-in-law or some book, or a graphic designer or, whatever. And here's what I will say is, first of all, your goal is to get it done. And it needs to be just good enough. You can always update your cover. You can always update your book content later, but get it done. Secondly, unless the person who's giving you advice is an experienced book promotions expert who's done it within the past 6 months, because information, knowledge, and experience that's older than a few years, especially in the traditional publishing world, is generally irrelevant, okay? You just can't trust. What used to work doesn't work any longer for the most part, okay? And the second thing is, unless that person who's giving you advice is actually a real paying customer, not a looky-loo or someone who's inexperienced, I just flat out ignore them. I'll take it under advisement. There might be a good nugget or a piece of information, but I wouldn't change the course you're taking. And the other thing is, never take it financial or marketing advice from broke people. So unless the person who's giving you advice is making a lot more money than you are or is a lot more successful than you are, I'd probably ignore it. And the confusion I see on a regular basis, and it's so easy. It's sort of like when you get diagnosed with a disease, and I know this because I had cancer, suddenly I'm not kidding you, 500 people coming out of the woodwork giving me medical advice. 200 of the 500 were in the MLM product business trying to sell me vitamins and minerals, and a bunch of non-doctors giving me medical advice. Well, if you follow that advice, you'll wind up dead. So, or crippled for life or something in between. So that's why I bring this up. But John, I want to get your point of view because, again, you're in the trenches. You're seeing people all the time who hesitate. So why don't you begin with a story of someone who hesitated, made bad decisions, and what was the beginning, middle, and end?
Well, the one I've got at the moment is that she's been working on a book for 2 years now, and she can't get over the title of the cover. So the reality is that's 2 years.
She paid you how much money?
$10,000, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's probably cost me more because we've had all these sessions, right? So she can't get over the cover, she can't decide on it. So what's happening is that she's dragging this whole opportunity out. 2 years down the road, she could have been selling, speaking, whatever.
Yeah, she could
lost this opportunity.
She could be a $250,000, $1 million, $2 million ahead.
And I think some of it's coming back from her people she knows. And so she's taking advice from all those people. So I think the biggest problem with books and this sort of process when you're creating something is people get really touchy. Yeah. Like they get really touchy about their book and they really think, it's their baby and they've got to, and so any advice spooks them. Yeah. Anything that comes out of them, they get really touchy. Yep. And I always say to people, look, let it go for a week and see if you still feel the same way. Because you probably won't. You've probably forgotten all about it by then, right?
Right.
But I think the problem is that, again, if they're not with a credit card in their hand telling you this or they know what they're talking about, chances are it's not good advice anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they go wrong. They just, or they don't realise what your real reason for doing something is.
Yeah.
Right. They might say, you've got call to actions throughout your book. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't be doing that. The reality is you did it for a reason. So, this well-meaning friends or well-meaning advice, particularly close family and friends, they're the worst because they won't read your book anyway. They probably even haven't read your book.
Yeah, that's right. That's why my attitude is don't take advice from non-customers. You get feedback from customers, but you don't unless you have a conversation. That's the reason for getting the book out there. I'll go back to this one here. When I did Money Phone, this started out as a 10-minute talk. I transcribed it. I've added a little bit of extra stuff, and the first version sucked. because I did it in 3 days right before our last Publish and Profit event.
I remember that.
Yeah. And it had good ideas and good content, but there were mistakes, and I knew it, right?
But
I got it done.
You're testing a market though with that, like you're testing what people feedback.
That's right.
Yeah.
And once I got a couple people, and then what I did is the following week I fixed all the stuff that was wrong. But then I went back, and again, I probably uploaded about 9 or 10 versions of the content, and it's up to, I call it version 4.1 right now, because I actually put a number in
Start
here.
numbering it.
So this is one of them that I don't have. So this must have been before I started putting the number in it. So this is probably version 3.0. But the whole point is, what is important is get it done, test it out, start the conversation, see if the book does what you want to do, which is build and grow your business, create an audience, or create some form of engagement.
Because half the customers you got probably don't even read your book anyway. So you could there's a book on Amazon that's completely blank.
Yeah.
And it's what men know about women.
Yeah.
And it's completely blank.
Yeah.
It sells.
Or it's all the knowledge of George Bush or Obama or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, there's variations on that.
And it's crazy because the reality is it sells a lot of copies and he's got a bunch of reviews. So the reality is they might not even read your book. So you're all hung up about what it looks like inside and you're getting customers that haven't even read your book. So I think you got to, get over yourself really. It's what I think you can really say. Yeah.
Totally. So, well, I think this is a good time to wrap this up.
Yep.
What I will tell you right now is John North is very, very frequently inside the community. I highly recommend you engage with him, connect with him. He's a very experienced, very knowledgeable book marketing, editing, writing consultant. He's got some great services, and we'll also provide some links here. One of them is if you want to learn more, you can head on over right now to yen.tv/done. And that will send you to a page where you can learn more about some of the done-for-you services that we're making available through some of our certified coaches and consultants here. So I want to thank you, sir.
Thank you, Loz. Thanks heaps.
All right.
Great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. And thanks for watching.